You know I love my Fusible applique quilts, and lettering is super popular right now, so I'm hoping today's tutorial will be a true inspiration. Let's get started. That's right, we're calling today the Inspire quilt, but I just want you to think you can use any word, any text. I'm going to show you how to make your very own, and of course I'm hoping I'm always inspiring all of you at home to try this new stuff, so I've chosen the word inspire. Now, we're doing it as technically a reverse applique. Let me explain why. What I've got on my supply list today is we're going to use 1.25 yards of each of the fabrics. I've got a solid, choose whichever one you like, but what I really wanted to bring in was this wonderful stripe. This is from FreeSpirit, and Fassett is our designer. And what this is it's truly a woven, which means that the threads or the yarns are used to create this. So as beautiful as it is and as lightweight, it's also going to be more likely to unravel. So I didn't actually use this to create the word inspire. I've done it as a reverse applique. Check this out as we look at the quilt. Now, the green stripe fabric, as I just showed you, it is actually sitting here as our base layer, and then the blue fabric has been cut out with the word inspire as relief or reverse applique, and then we just do a little bit of free motion quilting to bring it all to life. It's super, super simple. So I'm going to walk you through the steps, and like I said, I'm going to ask you to use whatever text you like, and I just started in Google Chrome Docs program, and I wrote out the word inspire, and then I highlighted and I started playing with different fun fonts. You know, you can bold it or you can do the italics or whatever you like. Once you've created your font, you can basically save it, and once it's been saved, you can use this application I use called Poster Razor, the words poster and razor combined, for enlargement. So what you're looking at on my table here was the word, but I've printed it on, what is this, 10 different pages from my regular computer printer, and then I've just taped it together with a little bit of masking tape. If you've never used Fusible Web before, what it is, Heat and Bond Featherlight is my all-time favorite, and it is a glue on one side and it's a paper on the other. Because of that, though, it's going to always reverse our image. Whatever we're creating, it's going to go backwards on us. So what we need to do is we need to be able to trace the word inspire here, but in the reverse format. And text and computers and reverse is tough for a lot of us. So instead of making it reversed in the computer, we're going to reverse it the easy and old-fashioned way by flipping it over. But what's going to help us a ton is this wonderful caterpillar. This is a little incredibly bright light table. So I'm just going to illuminate this so that I can lay this down on the wrong side. And this is now the back side of the lettering, which is going to give me the reverse. With that, I'm going to put my Fusible Web down. And I've already marked this piece of Fusible Web, or cut it to fit, and I'm just going to point out some of my lettering is a little bit long, so I've just patched on a little bit of fuse down here that I'm going to trace right through and secure it to the blue fabric on the background. Okay, so then I use a Sharpie marker so that it flows across the Fusible background, the paper side, very easily, and then I'm just going to hold it in place, and I'm marking on my lettering. And for the smoothest line possible, I try to drag my whole hand, my whole arm as I'm marking this. And then of course I'm going to be cutting this here in a moment with my Shark rotary cutter, which is going to allow me to get a really clean line. So you're just making yourself guidelines. You can cut where you need. Don't have to worry about making this perfect. And then the other thing I'm going to point out, so in this, my font that I chose a font where most all of my letters are connected. So my I for inspire is singular, but watch this. The rest of my letters, as you're going to see here, are going to connect. And so that connection actually makes all of this cutting and all of the reverse applique super simple because I'm not dealing with 7 or 8 individual letters. See, this is connected from one letter to the next as I go around here. And then I just am going to trace the top and the bottom lines before I move the pieces on the lightbox itself. So you can see these letters are connected, and that's going to make life super, super easy for me. And then I'll just show you this little tail piece down in here for the P. This came up here, and this is just because my Fusible Web is only 17 inches. And I have taped, but I have taped not where I'm going to have my line work, just so that I can not have to iron right on the tape. I found that blue tape you can iron on and Scotch tape you should not. And I had Scotch tape handy, so I put it where I'm not going to be ironing. Anyways, I think you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and trace out the rest of this, but I've already got the next step ready for us. So let me bring that into camera. Take a moment to clear this out of our way. And the light table, we're not going to be cutting on top of right now because I don't have the special mat in place. But here comes the next step, right? So here is my Inspire lettering. This is the Fusible web. This is the paper side we're seeing here. Here's the blue test I gave you for the painter's tape, that one I did press on. Now, again, what we're looking at here is the reverse side, and I want to point out that I've actually cut away the exterior because I want about an inch, inch and a half of glue all the way around. This is going to be the bonding agent here. This part goes away, and if you cut it nicely, as a matter of fact, this whole lettering will be usable. I'm just not using it on today's project. So you can actually make 2 Inspire quilts out of this one set of supplies here. Okay, so now to cut this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Shark Applicutter here. I'm going to hold it just like a pen so it's nice and comfortable. And I'm just going to drop it on this line, and I'm just going to nicely begin my cut. And I'm going to cut out all of these letters right on the line. And I'm going to just cut those lines out so that I can make sure I can use the lettering later on another project if I like, because it will be right sides out that way. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead now and jump into caffeinated mode, get all of this stuff cut out, and I'll be right back for the next step. And as I'm coming into this last little section here, I can show you what I mean by using that lettering all over again. And I'm also just taking my time. Normally I like to spin my fabric when I'm using my Shark cutter, but because I want it all nice and flat, I'm actually just working slowly around here, using my left hand also to kind of control it and guide it. And there, that should all be set. So now, yeah, okay, perfect. So I was just going to say again, this whole lettering is now right sides out, and I can put this onto a whole different background for us, but we're not talking about that today. We're doing our reverse applique. So our next setup is going to be, we're going to get prepared to baste and iron and all of that all at one time. So I'm going to quickly rotate my large board here so I have the majority of the fabric ready to be pressed down. Start heating my iron up, and I'm going with a dry iron because the Heat and Bond Feather Lite does not like any steam settings. I've already prepared the back of this, and I apologize. My quilt on the back wall is 45 by 22, and that is how I was able to maximize the amount of fabric I have. My lettering was set a little bit tight in my opinion, so maybe figure like 20 inches in your maximum height so that you have a little bit of extra wiggle room because our fabric's being 44. You can think you understand the math on that one. I did take my fabric and I turned it sideways when I cut it so my stripes would be running up and down in my print. So this right now is the quilt top. It is sitting on a piece of batting that is big enough already. I've chosen that. And this should be slightly larger than my blue reverse applique piece. I'm just going to take a second and get this all organized. And I'm going to run my iron over that too. I want to make sure there's no creases or major wrinkles or anything in this. See how nice that looks there? Okay, and now as I get ready to bring in my lettering, I'm going to go ahead and flip over and find a nice corner area, and I'm going to start to peel away. And what I want to make sure you can see is that the glue here is on still the blue fabric and not on the paper. So as you peel away slowly. Sometimes the glue doesn't stick perfectly to the fabric. I don't want you to go back and try to iron again. I just want you to work slowly, because the more glue on the edge for this particular use of this, the better. You see right there? Okay, I mean, that was exactly what I was talking about. I started peeling a little fast, or I didn't iron real well. So the glue over here isn't sticking, but the glue on the edge that's so important to me is. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to come at it from another direction. Perfect timing. I didn't know that was going to happen, but worked pretty good. Coming from that, and that just happens when our iron starts to cool. There we go. Okay, so see how I peeled this way, and then I was able to drop that glue down. And that's just going to help. The more glue we have, the better. And with the Heat and Bond Feather Light, it's not going to stick to itself, but I am still being cautious. Or if you're using any of the other style products, sometimes they can kind of stick to themselves. So I'm trying not to let this get too much of a mess on my table. We're almost there. All right. And I've also cut out the lettering holes for the E and the I and things, so I've got those set aside as we need them to come back in as well. I'll show you where those go. All right, so we have this all set. Now I'm going to quickly flip it over and drop my blue line up here. First, I'm just going to try to make sure that this edge is good. And then I'm just going to slowly work all of this into place as I go around here. Then I'm just going to start to put down all the lettering, and all we need to do is make sure that the blue goes down nice and flat on the green stripe. See how great that's looking like that? All right. So this is where it counts. Take the time to really get it nice and flat. I'm going to worry about those edges later. Okay. Terrific. Now the other thing is with this Heat and Bond Feather Light is it's such a fine, lightweight fuse, we don't want to iron and iron and iron and iron near it. We just want to hit it one time. So for example, like with my P right here, when I'm pressing this area, I want to already have this piece in. So again, I'm just going to peel the paper off. And make sure I drop this back in. And I believe it goes like that. Nope. Like that. And of course, you can always return back to your tracing to make sure you have it the way you like. And I'm just looking at the relief here. That looks good. Okay, and I also saw a little glue that was sticking out of the edge, and I'm going to tuck that underneath. And now my iron is nice and hot, and I'm going to bring it straight down in this fashion, like this. I don't want to slide the iron around, because if I slide it around, I might catch one of these little corners, and then it will go and fold upside down. And so now, and remember, we only have 1 inch of glue or so around the lettering that we have to iron down. So that's what I'm looking towards, and I'm just going to work this all the way through. And then what I do is I put the quilt backing in place, and then I come through and I hit it with safety pins for the quick basting. So I'll do that while you're all getting yourself a fresh cup of coffee. So when you come back, I'll show you how to do the free motion machine quilting to finish off today's project. Let me finish this ironing. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Just to show you again, what I've gone ahead and done while you were on break is I've safety pin basted the quilt top with the reverse applique. I have the batting in here, the white there. I have the backing. I chose the blue as well. And I did that so that I could use the other half of the 1/4 yard of fabric and save the other half of the 1/4 yard of the stripe for the binding. So that's the last where the other fabric goes there. Safety pins are in. I have a wonderful variegated thread in place on my machine. I've got my sew slip mat down, and I've gotten put my little machiner's gloves on here. I have a lot of videos that talk about some free motion skills and drills. So you see me use this stuff all the time. If you need a little more information, maybe check out one of those videos, because I want to talk about my first step of security for this whole project. I'm going to come right back to center on the quilt, and I'm going to begin doing a little bit of echo stitching or anchor stitching just on the blue around all of the green outlining. So the first thing I need to do is I need to drop my needle one time, bring it up so I can bring my bobbin thread up, and I can see it, but I don't know if I can get a hold of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop a few stitches on top of that to secure it. And now I'm just watching actually that hole in my presser foot, and I'm trying to trace the blue edge where it touches the green stripe fabric as I go. Let me stop here and organize this so maybe you can all see a little bit better. And I'm going to go ahead and get this thread cut out of my way. And then my first job is, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to secure all of the outline of the lettering Once this is done, I'll go back in and I'll do the interior of the letters like the P or the E to hold down those extra applique pieces. This is real fun. It's also a really great way to practice free motion machine quilting. You can probably see right here how nicely that using that presser foot hole right there is working as a guideline. I'm just looking at that as my trace as I go. And then I tell you what, why don't you follow me back to the quilt and I'll show you the rest of the style of quilting I'm doing, because once all of that free motion stitching is done here, so that's where I was, and I was following along here, then I just bounce out into the rest of the quilt, and I had actually changed my variegated threads and whatnot, but I was just playing, just filling in, but what I wanted was some larger open swirls to create some quilted look, but not distract from the lettering. And that's right, we're just accenting the word you want to create to carry your message in your quilting forward. And these make wonderful gift items as well. So I've tried to show you a lot of different ways to handle the reverse applique, but these are also great ways just to practice your skills as a quilt maker, especially as doing free motion machine quilting. I hope you loved today's video. Please remember to subscribe if you have not already, and in the comments below, I want to know what word you're going to start with. We'll catch you next time right here at Man Sewing. Thanks for being a Man Sewing fan. It's great to have you out there encouraging me to create fantastic new content. If you've missed any of the videos, we've got links for you here and here. And while you're checking those out, make sure you're subscribed. We don't want you to miss any of the action.